You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast. As always, a proud member of the CLNS group of podcasts. Make sure you download and subscribe to all of those great shows to get great Patriots content all week long. But as I said, tonight it's the Patriot Nation show with you guy Pat Lane here with my man Matt St. Jean. And Matt, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a Miami Heat, which means, or a member of the Miami Heat, I guess. I don't know if I don't really know how that works, but a member of the Miami Heat, which means that Jaylen Brown is still a member of the Boston Celtics. Who knows if that will be the case long term? But how do you feel about the Celtics not making that deal?
I will say my first takeaway is I'm relieved that I'm not going to have to learn how to spell Antetokounmpo. I've gotten this far by only ever saying Giannis, and that can continue. Yeah, I mean, I think Giannis would have been very exciting, and I also get why they didn't want to give up what it would have taken to get him, with the extras you would have had to throw in there. Because the point of getting Giannis is you got to build around him, and
right,
you want to keep some of those peripheral pieces there, especially when you're already giving up someone as good as Jaylen Brown and multiple firsts. So, Jaylen Brown's a good player. Jason Tatum's a great player. These guys have won a ring together before. I'm curious to see what it's going to look like for the future for the Celtics. But, yeah, I think I would have liked a Giannis trade, but I can't be upset with keeping the score intact.
Yeah, I guess the question for me is how much better do people think Giannis is than Jaylen Brown? I agree that he's better than Jaylen Brown. But coming off a pretty serious injury, the fact that he's going to be 32 this year, and, listen, he's a dominant player when he plays, but hasn't won a playoff series in 3 years. I don't know. I'm not saying he's not good. I think he's very good. I don't know. I don't know if he's that good that we have to trade Jaylen Brown and Hugo and someone else and 3 first-round picks. It's just that much we have to give up. It seems like a lot to me.
Well, to me, it's the proposition is about do you want a longer title window, maybe with a lower percentage chance of winning in each individual year, or a shorter title window with a higher percentage chance of winning?
Right.
That to me, that's what Giannis represents. When I think I really like the way he would fit with Tatum. So I think that would have been entertaining to see together.
Yeah.
But I think, if your fallback option is 2 guys who've played together for a long time, who play well with each other, and Brown and Tatum, who are young and can play together for the foreseeable future. And you can still trade Jaylen Brown, or I don't think they're going to trade Tatum, but you can still trade one at some point if you'd like to in here. I think it's a good fallback. I think Giannis is that much better than Jaylen Brown. It's just a question of for how many years are you going to get that guy? And I think there's enough question marks there. And then it looks like the Bucks were just looking for long-term assets. And when they weren't, when they didn't want to get a third team in the deal, that's brutal for the Celtics, because if they're looking for long-term assets, then you could, give Jaylen Brown to a third team who's then going to give a bunch of that long-term stuff to Milwaukee. But once that's off the table, if that's what they're looking for, then I guess the only thing left is to basically give up all of your surrounding pieces and have Brown, Giannis, and Tatum on the roster. And then probably you're going to trade Jaylen Brown yourself and basically just refill your supporting cast off of him. But that, again, weird situation to be in. So I would have liked Giannis, but I just don't think I can be upset about where we are right now. It just does make me very curious for how they view this season and how open they view their window and how aggressively they want to go for it this season compared to in future seasons.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I just saw Connor Ryan. Oh, I don't even know where Connor Ryan works. Boston.com. I guess covers the Bruins. I follow him. He's like a decently smart guy, I thought. His tweet today was arguably the dumbest tweet I've ever seen in my entire life, and it was Celtics fans appalled by the Bucks asking price would have been sick with how much Boston had to send to Minnesota in the Garnett trade. What? First of all, Paul Pierce, 31. Jason Tatum, 28. Very different, right? I believe that KG was 30 when they traded for him, I believe. The Celtics traded Ryan Gomes, Gerald Green, Theo Ratliff, Sebastian Telfair, Al Jefferson, right? Ooh, Al Jefferson's a good player. A 2009 first-round pick. And I believe that they had traded for Minnesota's first-round pick, and they were trading it back to them in 2009.
Okay.
But, that's nothing. KG was like an unbelievable player. And Al Jefferson turned out to be a pretty good player, but Al Jefferson was young and hadn't proven himself. You have an aging star in Paul Pierce. You bring in two other aging stars with him. It's not even close to a comparison. And no one in that level was even sniffing where Jaylen Brown is. And by the way, no one in that trade even got close to where Jaylen Brown is right now. And so it was just such a silly tweet. I just thought it was like, this is crazy. Like, what are we even talking about? I understand and I get your point when you say that, Giannis is significantly better than him. And I would agree with you that he is better than him. Is he that much better than him that you want to trade your entire future away for Giannis? Do you think that's enough for you where you're trading young players and draft picks? I just don't know if it's enough. I don't. And maybe it's wrong. Maybe you need those players and whatever, right? But I just, for me personally, I'd rather either keep Jaylen Brown or trade Jaylen Brown and trade him to, I actually think Atlanta is an interesting place. Like, if Atlanta's willing to move on from Alexander Walker and Okonkwo, that would be an interesting trade where you trade for Alexander Walker, Okonkwo, and then a first-round pick or something like that for Jaylen Brown, right? I think that makes sense. You know what I mean?
I'm not in love with the idea of trading Jaylen Brown for parts. I think is my only concern. I get why you might do it if you think you've already seen the best of him and you want to sell high.
Yeah.
I just think the concern is that when you're selling for parts and you're selling for young guys, sometimes those guys don't develop. And also, there's scarcity in that you can only put 5 players on the basketball court.
True.
So one guy who's at a 100 overall is better than 2 guys who are each a 50 overall, even though that's the same combined rating. They have to take up certain spots on the floor. And Jaylen Brown's very good. He struggled in the playoffs, but it was a weird situation all around, and we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, it's true.
In other Boston sports news, I was gonna rock the jersey, but it's just too warm out right now for me to do that. Patrice Bergeron getting his number retired, going into the Hall of Fame.
Yes,
love that. His goals against Toronto in that 2013 game.
Oh yeah.
Iconic.
Yeah.
His goals in the Game 7 in 2011 to win the Stanley Cup. Iconic. And he's got the assist on the series winner in that one. Just a guy who is so good at both ends of the ice. And, it's one of the guys that made me fall in love with hockey, just watching him out there.
Yeah, he was awesome. An incredible player. 100% deserves to have his number retired. I'm happy it's happening for him, and he didn't have to wait a ton of time either. I think they're doing the right thing and kind of getting it done decently early because he was that good. There was no doubt about him being that good, and so I'm excited for that. That should be a lot of fun. He to me exemplified what you wanted the Bruins to be. He was a tough, hard-nosed player who played offense and was probably maybe even arguably better on defense than he was on offense. And just it's exactly what you wanted out of your hockey player. And he was awesome for a long, long time here.
Well, and in some ways, I think the peak for him, one of the series that stands out, and it's a team achievement, so it's not just Bergeron, but I believe it was the Eastern Conference Finals in 2013 when they played Pittsburgh. And the Penguins have Crosby and Malkin and one of the best, if not the best, offense in hockey that year. Bruins sweep them and allow 2 goals in the series.
Yeah,
in 4 games, just complete and utter dominance. And it's again, that's a team thing. And Tuukka Rask stood on his head that postseason. But it starts up top with those guys. And I think one of the funny things about Bergeron is that he's not a captain for very long because of the leadership you have in Boston. You have Chara and Bergeron. You basically just have 2 captains. But
right.
Hockey's a sport about possessing the puck, and Bergeron's dominance in the faceoff circle and dominance at winning the puck in his own end and, operating in transition there up ice was always excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, you kind of like you had 6 guys on the ice when he's out there because he can almost function as your third D-man while also being one of the best faceoff guys in the league. And that Bergeron Marchand combo electric for so long.
Yeah.
And I remember from all those guys that had like the third spot in that line, like felt like whoever you put there had a great, like Mark Recchi had it and Tyler Seguin for bits in that run, and they brought in Jaromir Jagr for it.
Yeah, and they were the second line. That's what's crazy is that they were the second line because you had Krejci on the top line, and
for how many years it was the Krejci, Horton, Lucic line. Like you could lock in that 5 of your top 6, and then the rotating spot was going to be who was going to be the other winger playing next to Bergeron, and they had a whole host of guys there, and they all played well in that spot because it's easy next to those guys.
Absolutely. So it's we'll see if Bruins hockey can get back to what it was, but it was a ton of fun for a long time with a lot of great players. So happy that they're celebrating him.
And Bruins had basically 2 first-line centers for a decade and a half. Probably should have gotten more rings out of that one. Yeah. I think probably outside of the 2011 run and any game against Toronto in the playoffs, one of the more snake-bitten teams of the century, which is weird. I mean, I think when you look at some of those best Bruins teams, one where they win the President's Trophy and end up losing to Montreal in the playoffs. You've got the one, that series against the Blackhawks. Really, the Blackhawks were the better team, but it probably should have gone to 7. And just 2 different Stanley Cup losses on home ice where you're getting eliminated.
Yeah. The Flyers in 2010, you're up 3-0 in the series, and then you're up 3-0 in Game 7 and lose. Yeah, it's just like had never happened before, and it happens to them.
And none of this mentions a 2020 team that was the best in hockey before COVID shut things down, and they didn't find their stride again in the bubble. I think you can blame COVID for that. And the 2022 team, was it 2023 team, the one that was the best in Bruins history and choked in the playoffs, and that group also got injured in the playoffs. And it's funny, I don't know if you know Money Puck, it's basically the advanced stats website for hockey. But they have something they call the deserve to win -meter, which is just based on the quality of the scoring chances for each team.
Yeah.
And all 3 games that they blow in that 3-1 series lead to Florida, the Bruins were heavily favored by just the quality of the play on the ice. So it's just the other goalie steals it, and you get really unlucky, and you were injured in those games anyway. And it's just like everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong against a team that should not have been an 8 seed. That you're absolutely not.
Right.
That was looking back now what the Panthers have become. that's probably the second best team in the playoffs that year.
Yeah.
With like, just if you're looking at that, the way it all comes together, and
Right,
you have
just
to get
ends
them
up-
in the first round.
Yeah,
If you
it's
get any
rough.
other team, they're making it through to at least the Eastern Conference Finals. Like,
Right.
just
Yeah, it's
horrendous.
just, it's tough. That's what happens sometimes,
That's which I do think, if we're going to segue this to the Patriots, makes what the Patriots did for so long so incredible. I mean, you look back to the Celtics and the KG era,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at that as such a great era, and you get one ring out of it. And there's a scary thought here. All right, is the tandem era going to be the same thing? You look at the Red Sox, so many rings for so long, but in many ways, each of them feels like an isolated team. It's 4 rings in 14 years, and for a lot of them, there's not a massive amount of continuity. There is some, like Ortiz is the big one.
Yeah.
But like it's like different groups for each one of those rings. And then you go to the Patriots, and like it's almost easy to look at the other teams in Boston as the disappointing ones when they are still like above average for their leagues. It's just what Brady and Belichick do is so obscene.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and so they go that 10-year stretch without winning, obviously, and but make two Super Bowls in there, and make multiple AFC Championship games as well in there. So it's just it's what the Patriots did for a long time. So and we'll keep talking about it today.
Hopefully we can get back to that here.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? That'd be nice.
That'd be very nice.
So you want to do an ad read and then we'll get into the game?
That works for me.
All right. It's a scorching sports summer, and you can make all your picks on Prize Picks. The WNBA and baseball are heating up, and with big tennis slams and major golf tournaments on the horizon, you can make your picks for all these events and more all summer long on Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Now, don't forget about the World Cup, because the entire summer of soccer is on Prize Picks. All 48 countries in every matchup. And if you rep your side during the tournament on Prize Picks, you could win a trip to the final in New York. It's the biggest tournament ever, which means there's even more opportunities to cash in while you root for your favorite national sides and global soccer stars. Now, I hope none of you out there had Mr. Kane today for more than 0.5 goals, because that was a disappointing one, unfortunately, here at Gillette Stadium, Boston Stadium. But there's a ton of action out there. Get in on the action with the WNBA, get in the action with baseball, and again, get in on the action with the World Cup. What you're going to do is you're going to download the Prize Picks app. You're going to put in the promo code CLNS. When you do that, you're going to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Again, download the app Prize Picks, use the code CLNS, and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks, a preferred partner of the NBA. All right. And speaking of NBA, by the way, we didn't mention this on the show. We mentioned it off air. How about New England? How about New England? Basketball mecca of New England, back-to-back #1 picks coming from the region of New England. You love to see it. Love to see it.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Yep.
Now let's get those guys to the Celtics. That'd be pretty fun.
Oh, that'd be sick, wouldn't it? A little Cooper Flag. Maybe we could trade Jaylen Brown to Dallas and for Cooper Flag. Just straight up. That'd be fun. So, anyways.
If only what's his face was still there, maybe they'd consider that.
Oh, yeah, Nico. We gotta hire Nico back. Maybe Washington will hire Nico and they'll trade us to Bandstones did. Anyways, so today, as we continue our 2016 rewatch, we're almost done with our 2016 rewatch, because tonight we are discussing the AFC Championship game, Patriots hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers and blowing doors against the Steelers. Obviously 36-17 was the final score. It wasn't that close, boys and girls. It was not that close. And there are multiple things that we'll remember for this game. My dad just texted me. I had it on my list as things that I was going to do. My dad just did text me. The Bon Jovi was in attendance of this game, and after a touchdown, they played Living on a Prayer and they put him on the screen, and the entire stadium is singing the song. The whole stadium is singing the song, and they cut the music off because once they start playing again, you got to cut the music off. And the entire kickoff, the whole stadium is singing Living on a Prayer, and he's on the big screen, just like pumping his fist, going nuts. It was awesome. Like, what an incredible moment it was. I don't remember after which touchdown it was, but it was after a touchdown. And it was just awesome. It was awesome, and those are the good old days of Patriots football, truly the good old days.
A couple lasting memories from me from this game. One, the way that the smoke settled in the stadium at kickoff, and the fact that the Patriots were setting the tone before it even cleared is something I remember very vividly from this one. And then from after the game, Martellus Bennett dancing with the cheerleaders.
That was so much fun.
A little Whitney Houston.
Yep. And what's interesting is that it's eerily reminiscent, and not quite as foggy, but eerily reminiscent of 1996, the Patriots playing the Steelers. And, they set off fireworks and stuff before the game, and it was kind of like a nasty day out, kind of like a bad night out, and the smoke just held in the stadium. And I remember Bledsoe threw a pass deep down the right sideline to Terry Glenn, and you couldn't see it. Like, you didn't see it. You watched the replay, and you're like, how does he even know he's there? It was unbelievable. And so it was pretty cool. Yeah. And it obviously wasn't quite as foggy at Gillette this night, but it was eerily reminiscent of another game that they beat the Steelers in the playoffs.
Also, somewhat reminiscent weather-wise, not the rain, but temperature of the Patriots Colts Deflategate AFC Championship game from 2 years prior.
Yeah,
I think is funny. I do think one of the funny things to me still of this era, the first dynasty has so many iconic bad weather games.
Mm-hmm.
I think every 5 of the 6 non-Super Bowl games have a weather factor, because you've got the snowball, obviously.
Yeah.
First AFC Championship in Pittsburgh is just a beautiful Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
But then both of the games in 2003, you've got crazy temperatures in the first one and snow, and then snow and bitter cold in Pittsburgh in 2004.
Right.
And it's hilarious to me that the later half of the dynasty, in 2014, it's the first game's a cold one against Baltimore.
Yeah, but not
crazy.
Not crazy cold. Yeah.
Colts it's above average temperature and raining. The games this year are mild weather.
Right. Yeah,
in 2018 you get a cold. Yeah, 2018 you get a cold one in Kansas City, but the home game against the Chargers, it's just a nice warm.
Yeah.
Not that warm.
Not warm, but again, comparatively speaking, it's a warm day. So
yeah. Which I do wonder, that's something I always remember as a kid. It's just the pure drama of the weather element of that first dynasty, and you didn't get that again, I don't think, until this past postseason with the Houston game and the Denver game.
Yeah.
Can I set the scene for this day? By the way,
do it.
It's January 22nd, 2017. So the 2 conference championship games are Packers at Falcons and Steelers at Patriots. The Packers-Falcons game is the first one on the day, which is also a rematch from earlier in the regular season. These are the 2 and the 3 seeds in the NFC. When they played it earlier in the regular season, the Falcons beat the Packers 33-32. This was a very good game. Falcons end up winning it on a Mohamed Sanu touchdown with 31 seconds left in the game. Very much a back and forth affair there. This one, that NFC Championship game, not as close as the first matchup that season. The Falcons scored the first 31 points of the game. I went back, watched watched the highlights. They looked absolutely unstoppable. That offense was cooking. And I do think it's crazy to look like Matt Ryan was amazing that year. And we're going to talk more about the Falcons when we get into Super Bowl 51.
Of course, yeah.
Matt Ryan was phenomenal that year. We've obviously seen what these Kyle Shanahan offenses have become. And that type of offense with that type of talent in it, and you're playing in a dome there. There's no weather element at all. It's easy for you. They picked them apart. The final ends up being 44-21 because the Packers find their offense in the second half, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This is also the last Falcons game at the Georgia Dome. They open.
That's right. They open the new stadium the next year. Yep.
Yeah. Side note on that, which I thought of when I was doing this. There's a little known NFL rule because I was doing the math on when the new stadium opened. Did you know that before a stadium could host a Super Bowl, it has to go through a full season of play? So like the Falcons Stadium opens in 2017, they were not eligible to host the Super Bowl in it until after the 2018 season, which they did when the Patriots won. I don't remember the specific Super Bowl that was the catalyst for this, but there was one where they played it in the stadium the first year it was open, and it was just a disaster because they were not experienced enough setting up like broadcasts and stuff in the new venue to know
makes sense
to do. Yeah. So yeah, that's a friend who was interested with all the new stadiums coming out about when they are eligible to host Super Bowls. That's your rule.
There you go. How about that? Learn something new every day.
And that new stadium in Atlanta is a massive upgrade. The Georgia Dome, ugly on TV.
Yeah, no, that's one of the places that, and as anyone that listens knows, I go to an away game every year. That's a spot that I have circled on my list for sure. That I'd like to go to.
I've actually been to the new one. It's I went when the Pats played on Thursday Night Football a couple years ago. It's a great stadium. Yeah. It is. I have a little fear of heights, and we were up top.
You're way up.
You feel it when you go up there.
Yeah.
Stadium has also looked great for the World Cup.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably one of the top ones in the U.S. right there.
It's a really good one. It's a very good one. So
yeah. That was the early game that Falcons Packers won. So that segues you into the night slot, which just like 2 years prior, just like you do in all three of these Patriots Super Bowl wins in the second dynasty era, you have the night AFC Championship game with the knowledge of who you would play if you won.
Right.
I don't remember what my thoughts were going into this after watching how the Falcons played. Do you remember?
No, you know what? It was one of those things where I didn't care. It didn't matter to me. Like I was so focused on the game that I didn't care about who the opponent was. I don't remember caring, at least. And obviously the Falcons, was cool because Matt Ryan went to BC and so on and so forth, and like had some connections here and whatever. But like ultimately, it didn't really matter to me. Who they played. It was more so that that they get back again. Especially after losing the year before, in Denver, it was like, just get there, and then we can worry about who we play afterwards.
No, I think that's where I had landed at this point. And I think also, I think it's easy to see that Falcons performance and be like, man, they're a good team.
Oh, yeah.
But you also see how the Patriots play in this game. And I think the thought of both of those teams heading into that Super Bowl has to be, we play our way. We give them our best day. We're going to win this game.
Well, not just that, but you got to remember now, the streak was still alive at this point. Patrick Mahomes hadn't broken the streak yet about the Super Bowl winner. At this point, the last Super Bowl winner the last MVP to win the Super Bowl was Kurt Warner in 1999. So, we're still sitting here saying, hey, Matt Ryan's going to win the MVP. Great. That's good news for us because the MVP doesn't win the Super Bowl. And so, I remember talking about that and talking that up and saying, hey, this isn't going to happen. And then, I think, is it Mahomes and Brady went back to back with that? Because Mahomes won the MVP in 19 and won the Super Bowl. Is that accurate? I'm pretty sure he won the MVP in 19 and won the Super Bowl. And then Brady in 2020 is the first player to ever win the Super Bowl in his home stadium. So I'm pretty sure they went back to back and broke both of those streaks in back to back years.
That's
so
cool. Yeah.
But anyways, so I will say one interesting thing, and everyone knows how good of a game Chris Hogan played, and I remember the talk about Hogan and Julio Jones. What I had forgotten was that Chris Hogan and Julio Jones had the exact same stat line. Exactly the same stat line. 9 catches, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the game. What's interesting is that Julio has a 73-yard catch in there, right? So you're like 73-yard catch is unbelievable. And so then, you know, okay, 8 catches for 110 yards is fantastic. But like, okay, Hogan's longest catch of the day was 39 yards. To average 20 yards per catch and have your highest gain of the day be 39 yards is pretty impressive, you know, especially when you get 9 catches there, you know.
When I think, you know, you go back to the first Pat Steelers game that year, it's Rob Gronkowski is uncoverable in that one. And obviously a very different player, but there was this stretch there where, and it's really most of this decade, where the Patriots had like that defense's number. And yeah, I think it was always Hogan and Gronk were the guys that got them. I think in part because of the speed at their position against those zones was tough. But like I pulled up some of the advanced stats for this game, and Brady has he averages 0.44 EPA per play in this game on an average depth of target of 5.9 yards. They were just insane, checking it down. And when you watch it, again, how many of these plays are just we're gonna stretch out the defense and hit someone underneath, and just time and time again, because I think, you know, that zone defense in Pittsburgh, the whole thing is we're going to play a lot of zone. We're going to blitz to get some pressure on you. And we're going to tackle so quickly, so aggressively that the ball is going to come out, or, you know, you're going to be stopped short of the sticks. There's some similarity there to like Seattle Legion of Boom. It's not, doesn't have that same reputation. It wasn't as good, but it's a similar philosophy, and that we're just going to be athletic, aggressive, fast, close space, and keep things underneath. Brady's mind is one of the things that can just, he and McDaniels together are something that's just able to tear that apart from the get-go. I think on that very first drive, you see that kick into gear right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's true. And that's, you know, I mean, Edelman also goes for over 100 yards and a touchdown. And that's just what the Patriots did. They ripped that team apart. And to your point, right, they come out throwing the ball. Bennett for 12 yards, Edelman for 41, Malcolm Mitchell for 5, Amendola for 4.
Yeah, the Edelman one's the underneath one that he just, and that to me was, when I think about that play in the fog, like it's the second play of the game. We already have a 41-yard play.
Yeah,
you almost felt like the game was over 2 plays in,
right?
Because you didn't think their defense was going to have an answer, and in large part they didn't.
They didn't.
Patriots ended up kicking a field goal on that drive. On 3rd and 1, you throw it goes off the hands of Malcolm Mitchell. You know, that probably should have been a touchdown drive, except Malcolm Mitchell drops a pass and you have to settle for a field goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, and then they kind of go back and forth dueling 3 and outs there, and then the Steelers have a little bit of a drive going, not much, but a little bit of a drive going. It stalls out. It's intended for Antonio Brown, and Malcolm Butler gets in there, and then the Patriots.
Was that the one that Malcolm Butler, I think, should have picked that one if I'm remembering that play correctly too?
I think you're right. Sideline. I think you're right. Yeah. Yep. So, but anyway,
we should say it was Landry Jones in the first meeting. This time Ben Roethlisberger.
This is Roethlisberger,
quarterback.
Correct. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that they had played the Steelers before and crushed them. But it wasn't Roethlisberger. So you're like, all right, you know, like whatever, that's fine. It didn't matter. Like, it just didn't matter. The Patriots, you know, they take the ball over from there, drive right down the field, few runs to Dion Lewis, few runs to LeGarrette Blount. But Hogan's first touchdown catch comes in here. For the drive, he ends up just on this drive with 4 catches for, what's that, 30... 41, 57 yards, 4 catches, 57 yards and a touchdown just on this drive. And it's just like, you know, now all of a sudden we're cooking with gas. We're down there, and you know, the Patriots, the Steelers do go on a very long extended drive and kind of punch back, and now it's 10-7. And then from that point,
I think it's 10-6, right? Yeah,
10-6, right? Because they missed the extra point. That's right.
A theme that year.
That's true. That's a great point. Yeah. So, but still, and the Patriots score a touchdown to make it 17-6, and you know, the Steelers go on another long drive, but have to settle for a field goal. You know, they actually stall out. They're at the 1.
Yeah. which I want to,
and they lose multiple yards.
And I want to talk about that sequence, but I want to go back to that first Patriots touchdown drive.
Yeah,
because this is where you just see the Patriots like picking apart Pittsburgh again.
Mm-hmm.
They go out there with heavy personnel, run the ball, and then get into no huddle off of it, and just dictate matchups. And the big play on this drive, again, probably one you remember from the Chris Hogan highlight reel in this, is him up the left seam where they line up in like a heavy personnel look with about 7 seconds on the play clock. They reset the formation into a spread alignment. They know exactly what zone coverage Pittsburgh's playing, and I believe this is Hoss wide juke, that Patriots play they ran all the time back then. This is the same thing they do in the Super Bowl 2 years later.
Yeah,
and it's just all right. We're gonna have 2 seam routes. We know the Steelers are gonna play some kind of cover 3 zone, and you just wait to see which way like the safety rotates, and then throw the seam route behind him. And it's Chris Hogan like on with James Harrison in coverage because of the personnel grouping they're in, and he bobbles it, but it's still a 20-something, 26-yard catch up the seam. And it's just you had them in a bind. You knew what they wanted to do. You knew how you wanted to exploit it, and they did it with ease. Really, the only drive where the Patriots are trying to score, have the starters out there and don't, is that 3 and out. That's their second drive, where you just have, you try to run, you're in on the first play, you end up behind the chains, compound that with an incompletion. You have to run.
You get sacked.
Like, as soon as they were getting into a rhythm, they were scoring at will in this one. Their second touchdown is the flea flicker. Which is, again, just, in a variety of ways, using Chris Hogan's speed to beat that defense. And they didn't have an answer for it that night. They did nothing close to it.
No, they didn't. And that's what's interesting is that it comes just like the long play you're talking about is a first down that comes off of a third down completion to Chris Hogan. And, he was unstoppable in this game. And they scored that touchdown, and now it's 17-6, and you're sitting there saying
pressure's on.
Oh yeah, and so again, Pittsburgh goes on a long drive, a really nice, long, sustained drive. They get it all the way down to the 1 yard line, and
so they get this into the end zone.
They do
rule the touchdown on the field,
and
then they review it because I think this is at the 2-minute warning. Yeah. Review it, and Jesse James, a little precursor for something that would happen the next season there too. Jesse James at the 1 yard line, going into the end zone, they rule him short, and
just short.
And I think one of the unheralded kind of sequences in this run is the goal line stand here, and the guy who is the key player in it is someone who most Patriots fans couldn't name. I don't think he made the team the next year. Vincent Valentine, defensive tackle. Oh shoot, where did he go?
Oh yeah, I remember. It's like one of those. It's one of the weird ones. I remember Nebraska is where he went.
Okay, I did think I was going to say Nebraska. All right,
yeah, it's one of those weird ones. That's like, why would anyone know that? But I know it for some reason. I don't know why I know it, but I do.
I
just remember it because like a D tackle from Nebraska. Like what? Okay, sure.
Well, Ndamukong Suh is there.
Well, I mean, obviously, but this kid was drafted in like the 7th round.
Yeah, I was convinced. It's on 1st and goal. The Patriots force a 1 yard loss. They just totally collapsed it. But the second and goal play is Vincent Valentine just blowing it up by himself 3 yards in the backfield. So you've gone from a touchdown at the 2-minute warning, or right before the 2-minute warning, that should, you're hoping to bring it to a 3-point game coming into the half, to 3rd and goal from the 5, where you're able to hold on there. And a massive sequence. And I think we also have to talk about here the running back who's carrying it in is D'Angelo Williams, because Le'Veon Bell tweaks a muscle in the first quarter and doesn't play very much after that.
Yeah. Certainly helped the Patriots there for sure. The Patriots end up calling timeout. They want to get a drive going, and they're not really able to get anything going. The Steelers are kind of playing that kind of shell zone, and Brady's just not taking any chances and dumping the ball down, and they say, forget it, let's just go into halftime. But you're up 17-9, and you feel really good about where you're at. You know, it's only an 8-point lead, but you still feel pretty good about where you're at. You know, with that.
This is on that day, the Steelers had a rushing success rate of just 25%, which, you know, shows up in that key goal line sequence. But, you know, the Steelers passed the ball well in this game, but they were in a spot where they had to pass the ball well. They could not run at all. The broadcast talked a lot about Alan Branch in this game. Who was it? Who was that defense tackle for the Patriots?
I think it was Alan Branch, yeah. Who
was just dominating and not letting anything happen up front for that Steelers running game. And, you know, that's a massive thing. Yeah, Alan Branch in this game was so good, just dominating. And I think you have to give credit to the Patriots defense. D'Angelo Williams still a good running back.
Mm-hmm.
Very different stylistically from Le'Veon Bell. I think to make that adjustment mid-game,
I agree,
without an issue.
Yeah.
Not that it's it's obviously you'd rather face D'Angelo Williams than Le'Veon Bell, but, you know, it can be tough to adjust in a game like that. And the Patriots did a really good job there. And, you know, the teams combined for, 111? Yeah, 111 rushing yards between the two teams, and just not a lot of running here.
No.
Because the Steelers couldn't run the ball, and they also couldn't stop the pass. So that's how you end up in a game like this.
100%. Right. So the second half gets started, right? And it's like, all right, 3-0 from the Steelers. Patriots going on a little bit of a drive, end up having to settle for a field goal. So now it's 20-9. It's an 11-point lead.
With a 24-yard completion, too.
Of course, Chris Hogan. Who else? Come on now.
Yeah. Also, you get this drive gets a little help from Ryan Shazier.
Yeah, unnecessary roughness. Yeah.
Roughness penalty, leading with his helmet on Julian Edelman.
Yep.
You also get help from the officials here. There's a Tom Brady sneak on 3rd and 1 he converts.
I thought he had it, but, you know, it's close.
It's close about if he fumbles and Pittsburgh recovers, and on the broadcast at least they don't seem to get a clear answer as to what it was the officials were calling on that.
Right. Yeah.
The officials had said that they had a clear recovery for the Steelers, and also they had an angle that showed that the ball was out before Brady's knee hits the ground. So they're saying, how is this play upheld as the Patriots keeping the football here? I believe they don't actually have a Steelers clear recovery, but
yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I
don't know if we ever got clarification on that, because the game gets so out of hand it doesn't matter. No one cares about that when it's a 36-17 blowout.
Right. That's true too. Yeah. So 29, and then Pittsburgh gets the ball back and starts driving, immediately gets into Patriots territory. You know, after some nice completions by Roethlisberger, and the drive stalls out at just inside the 40-yard line. It's 4th and 7. There's some questions here about whether they should have gone for it. I don't know. 4th and 7 is kind of far. You're only down 2 scores, so I understand why they punt here, but it proves costly because.
I think you look at like this era of the Patriots. You know, the Steelers come in and they're not willing to be aggressive in that spot. You look at the Jaguars the next year; they come in, they're not willing to be aggressive in that spot. The one team in this time frame that figures out how you get aggressive against the Patriots is Philadelphia in the next year's Super Bowl, and they get the win.
Right.
And I think you absolutely have to go for it. It's not a great spot to be in, but when you're down 20-9, you know, you end up punting, you pin them at the 12, and still the next time you get the ball back, it's 27-9.
Right.
You need points.
Yeah, and the other part of it for me is that your offense hasn't done anything, and you haven't been able to stop the Patriots. Right, the Patriots have scored on, as you said, every possession outside of the 1 3-0 that they had. So you got to think that we don't have an answer for them. We need some points here, right? let's try to score. We're in Patriots territory. Like, all right, if we turn the ball over, it's not great, but like the Patriots are getting it at the 40. It's not like they're getting it at our 40. They're getting it at their 40. Like, I didn't agree with it, but again, I'll take it. But what you see so often is that it winds up biting them in the ass because the Patriots get the ball, they drive right down the field. Again, another 39-yard pass to Chris Hogan, a long pass to some different guys. Edelman catches a 17-yarder. James Devlin catches a 13-yarder, right? So, and then LeGarrette Blount runs it in for a touchdown. Now it's 27-9. Now you're like, okay, now we're really feeling it.
Well, in the what do you call it? The Blount run to set up the touchdown is the one where he gets stopped at like the 10-yard line. And then the Patriots push him all the way down. Which is funny. I checked the win probability graph. That play is the one that put the Patriots over a 95% chance to win the game.
Yeah, because it's pretty much over at that point, right? So, I
think logically that when you're in that tough of a spot, but also emotionally, you could tell in that moment who wanted that game more.
Right.
And
and Patriots can feel it at that point. The first play of the next drive, Roethlisberger completes the pass, knocked out by Ninkovich, recovered by actually, I think it was knocked out by Ninkovich and recovered by Ninkovich, I believe, although I might be wrong about that.
Yes.
But, now the Patriots get the ball back, and guess what? They waste zero time. Complete a pass to Edelman, complete another pass to Edelman, touchdown. Now it's 33-9, and the game's over. Gostowski misses an extra point, but it's 33-9 in the games, and the game is like officially over. Like, you're all right, it's 24 points. We're up by 3 scores with 3 extra points, with 3 2-point conversions. The game's over.
Yeah, and then from there, the Steelers, they put together a drive on the next possession, but then the Patriots get another goal line stop. You get the 4th down stop from the 2-yard line, and you're stuck at your own 2, so you end up having to punt after that. And then Roethlisberger throws a pick. And it's just, that you can't have multiple drives in this game for that Pittsburgh offense, where as a one-play drive with a turnover, you have no chance of winning this game if that's how it's going to go for you.
Right. Well, you look at it and you think, okay, that's on in this game, it's 2 drives that stall at the goal line. One where they set up for a field goal and one where they don't get any points. So theoretically, that's minus 11 right there, right? And then you have 2 one-play drives that result in turnovers. And so, you lose by 19, but if you score on those 2 goal line stands, that's a lot closer than that. And then if you don't turn the ball over twice like that, then who knows what happens, right? And not only do you turn the ball over, but you turn it over in your territory as soon as you get the ball back, right?
Yeah.
Just absolute momentum killing. Of course, Patriots set up for a field goal on that last one, but it doesn't matter. The game's already over because you've turned it over. As soon as Roethlisberger throws that pick, if the game's already over anyways, but Roethlisberger throws it, it's like, all right, well, forget it. Like, the game, at this point, the game's over. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. Oh, and, it doesn't end up mattering either because they get a 2-point conversion, but missing an extra point too.
Yep. True.
It's just the kind of stuff you can't do, which that's back-to-back AFC Championship games here with a missed extra point with Gostowski the year before.
Yeah.
And
Gostowski had one in this game too, but
that one much less important.
Well, yeah, that's very true.
But yeah, no, it's just, I think what the Patriots offense was able to do that day, basically able to do whatever they wanted. And you combine that with some short fields. You're playing on easy mode.
It certainly helps. It doesn't hurt, when you're doing that. And you think about those last, you have a 62-yard field goal drive, 80, 82, and 88-yard touchdown drives. But then you have a 28-yard touchdown drive and a 24-yard field goal drive and a 55-yard field goal drive. Like, it's just not, you're not pinning them deep enough. If that's the case, right? They have 3 guys of 80 yards, 80 plus yards, which is impressive by the Patriots. But you can't then also give them 2 drives under 30 yards. You can't allow that to happen. That are points, So, And that's ultimately what it comes down to. And again, the Patriots dominated, really. I mean, if you look at it, the Patriots completely dominated. So,
well, and that was both of these conference championship games. That was two teams making statements. And I mean, really, it's the two MVP candidates making statements. It's Matt Ryan who wins MVP and Brady who probably wins it if he plays in the first 4 games of the season. Both of those guys were unbelievable that year. And, that becomes your storyline going into that Super Bowl. It's the QB who's always been that one looking for his 5th to beat out Montana, and that quarterback who's hot right now.
Yeah.
In Matt Ryan.
Yep.
I want to zoom out on Pittsburgh here for a second. So they beat Kansas City 18-16 in the divisional round that year. They go out to Kansas City to do that. That's what brings them to this AFC Championship game. They have not won a playoff game since then. Because they lose this game in New England. The next year they lose at home to Jacksonville in the divisional round. If you remember that game, that was a crazy game.
Yeah.
And other than that, they've lost in the wild card round 5 of the last 6 years.
Crazy.
That is it for them, which really is crazy to think about. I mean, this era of Steelers football, the Killer Bees, Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, they just have nothing to show for it in terms of playoff success. 2014, you have a wild card loss. 2015, they win that game actually, the only 2 games they win in that 4-year era in the playoffs are 18-16 road victories. The one at Kansas City and the 18-6. I didn't realize it was also an 18-16 game at Cincinnati in the Vontaze Perfect game. That meltdown, and then they go and lose in Denver. So they only come away with 2 playoff wins from this era, which really is unbelievable to think about with how much talent was on that team and how highly they're regarded. And you do have those seeds of discontent kind of planted this very week of the conference championship game, because it's the weekend before where Antonio Brown is live streaming from the locker room during the post-game press conference.
Yeah.
Which I think was the first taste we got of just how crazy things had gotten.
Yeah. Yeah. Things really the wheels started coming off after this. Of course, Roethlisberger stays all the way to 2021, but it's just never the same. It's never the same. And, AB, of course, ends up getting shipped out. Obviously that doesn't last long. Then he ends up in New England, then he ends up in Tampa, and it's a mess. It's just a mess. So, that's just, unfortunately, that's the way it goes. Well, unfortunately, I don't really care because it's Pittsburgh who cares. But, unfortunately for them, that's how, this era ends. And you feel like we have a top 5 to 10 quarterback. We have a top 2, maybe even top 1 wide receiver. And we have a top 5 running back. And we have a pretty solid defense. And we just can't get anywhere. And it's just, it's one of those things. And you look at it, that's jarring to think about, because it took them until this year to get rid of Mike Tomlin. It's just like, you're talking about 2016 is the last time they won a playoff game. And then 10 years later is when their coach finally gets fired. And it's just like,
and it's not all on Tomlin.
Of course not. But at a certain point, what are we doing here?
And it's just because someone's not the problem, that doesn't mean that they're the solution going forward.
Correct. Yeah.
Which, I think that's one thing organizations in general can have a tough time with, is knowing when you got to be proactive about realizing the solutions you need are different than they were however many years ago. And even if nothing's wrong with the current coach you have, you just might need a different voice.
Yeah.
That really is wild. This is the 3rd Patriots AFC Championship game win over Pittsburgh. They do it in 2001, they do it in 2004, they do it in 2016. This and the 2004 one, both games where you get out to 10-0 leads early and really set the tone in both. Obviously, that 0-1 game is kind of not an anomaly, but a unique game. There's not a lot.
A very unique game.
Yeah.
No.
I will.
No, but that's.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Now, I was just thinking big picture. The two opponents you think of the Patriots playing in the postseason in the Brady Belichick era, it's the Steelers and it's the Colts. So I guess my question is like, which one of those to you is the defining one? Like if you're just picturing the default Patriots playoff game in your head from this era, are you thinking of that Brady Manning postseason rivalry, or are you just thinking of the Patriots beating down the Steelers?
I think it depends. I think for the second dynasty era, I would say Pittsburgh. For the first dynasty era, I would probably say Indy, just because of Peyton Manning. And I think Manning is kind of that constant rival for Brady. And of course, the other part of it is that the Patriots lose to the Colts and Manning 3 times in the AFC Championship game, right? And so they never lose to the Steelers in the playoffs. So it's a little different, it's not a real rivalry if every time you play them you win, right?
Yeah.
So obviously that's not the case earlier, right, in the 90s, but that is the case once Belichick takes over and there's certainly some memorable games against Pittsburgh for sure, but I think definitely the Colts would be the definitive one for me, at least.
When I think what puts the icing on the cake there is that the Colts not once but twice are involving the league office in that time span, both after AFC Championship games in New England.
Yeah,
3 in 2014. And I think you combine that with the fact that I feel like that 0-1 AFC Championship game is the most unique of any of the playoff wins in this span, in that Bledsoe is your quarterback who plays for most of that game.
Yeah.
So many of the 3 touchdowns you score in that game, 2 come on special teams.
Right.
And it's also a Steelers team that was like, I feel like it's a team construction you don't see very often anymore. Like it was Cordell Stewart in 0-1. This was a team that was they won with defense. Cordell Stewart's not a good quarterback, but he's there. They won with everything but the quarterback in a way that, at least looking back, you don't take those teams as seriously. So even though you're on the road in that game, and it's such a weird game for a lot of reasons, like it's not like there's less like individual rivalries there between players. Like there's no like quarterback matchup there that you're like, oh, that was a big
100%. The soundbite, it's the soundbite for me from Gil. It's the Gil Santos soundbite. Yes. Despite the prognostications of doom, the Patriots have arrived in Philadelphia and have arrived in Pittsburgh and will take the field to play the Steelers today. And it's just like, it's unbelievable. That's, that to me is what defines it. And obviously you get the great punt return, which that's one of, you talk about unique. That's one of the most unique punt returns I've ever seen, because how many punt returns do you see happen in the middle of the field? That's a punt return for a touchdown that happens in the middle of the field. He just runs straight through. It's unbelievable.
It like never leaves the hash marks. Well, Bill Cowher was pissed after that. I don't know if you remember the sequence, but Steelers punt the ball, and it's not a good return. I don't even know if there was a return from Troy Brown. It's like a great punt, but there's a penalty on it, and they have to repunt. And according, I don't know what the truth is, but according to Cowher, they respotted the ball after the penalty on the wrong hash mark. And I believe he was implying that one of the reasons their punt coverage on that play is so awful, and the only reason why that ball is kicked in the middle of the field, because they're not on the same page about what hash mark they're starting on, which really seems like a skill issue. Like, I don't know, man, figure that out in my time.
Also, like, call a timeout. Like, what are we even talking about? How's that even possible?
If you called something that's like, hey, we're going to punt this to the left because we're on the left hash and we want to put it on the left sideline, then you look up and you see you're on the right hash.
Right. Call a timeout.
Or just yell out, hey, kick it right.
Right.
We're just gonna flip it.
Yeah.
My favorite part of that play, if you go back and rewatch it, there's a Belichick breakdown on it. The Patriots gunners, the Vice guys, never let Pittsburgh's gunners get past the line of scrimmage. When you look at Troy Brown going into the end zone, the last guy he beats is one of the gunners, because he's still that deep in his own territory. They just get absolutely bullied.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So,
which is one of those great highlights in Patriots playoff history. But again, unique game. I definitely feel like the Brady Manning game, especially the Brady Manning playoff game that I always remember is the 0-4 one.
oh yeah, with
Coming
the
back
three,
and dominating them, and the 2 killing the clock drives
yeah,
that you have in the second half of that game, where you just dominate them.
it's just
playoff football is all about.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So,
and I think you could look at the 0-3 AFC Championship game and say to a degree, the Patriots got lucky that Manning just had a bad day and threw all those picks. Like if he didn't throw the picks, maybe something happens differently. And that game, even with 5 turnovers, is still a 7-point game late in the fourth quarter. Patriots Colts game the next year is when Manning throws 48 touchdowns, then comes in and they score 3 points, and the offense never gets going for Indianapolis. Like your defense isn't relying on turnovers; they're just beating you down with a secondary that has Troy Brown playing in it.
right.
Against, at that point, maybe the best quarterback season we had ever seen. So, just that to me is maybe my favorite Patriots home playoff game of that era.
I think so. Yeah, that's the one where see, I get my years mixed up. Yeah, that's the one where the Colts hadn't punted yet. And I remember talking about this with my dad. They came in and I'm like terrified. I'm like, they haven't punted yet. Like they haven't punted. And they drive right down the field. I mean, the Patriots defense like Swiss cheese on that first drive. They're just driving right down the field. And then Rodney picks him off in the end zone. And my dad turns to me.
Oh, that's 0-3.
He throws it. No, hold on.
Yeah, the Rodney Harrison picks first drive in 0-3.
The Rodney Harrison pick was the first. Are you sure?
Yes. But
I'm looking at the 0-4 one. I'm looking at the 0-4 one right now. I'm looking at the wait a second. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm looking at January 18th, 2004.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. That's my mistake. I don't know how I messed that up.
But in 0-3, they hadn't punted in either playoff game, I believe, coming in. And then in 0-4, they punt in their wild card game, but they score 49 points against Denver.
Yeah. They crushed Denver.
Yeah.
And then they had no answer.
That Peyton Manning offense was unbelievable.
Well, that 0-4 team, they played the number one defense and stomped them. And they played the number one offense and shut them down. And it's just
you play the Eagles team that finally breaks through after 3 straight NFC Championship game losses.
Yeah. So,
because I think, 0-4, you could have a letdown after all that. Because that's a very good Eagles team. That's Andy Reid.
T.O.
And you just don't.
Yep. So, anyway,
that 0-4 divisional round, almost 38 minutes of time of possession for New England.
Yeah, unbelievable.
That's what I like.
Anything else on the 2016 AFC Championship game against Pittsburgh?
No. I mean, this is probably the best game the Patriots play all season. Their most complete one.
Yeah, from just a complete and total beatdown of the Steelers. Never really close. There were some moments where it was like maybe a little bit close, but never felt close. Again, like you said, they got that chance down 20-9. Feel like you're on the Patriots side. You really should go for it here, and you punt it instead, and the game's over. Next time, you have one play in between there, and then all of a sudden, instead of being 29, it's 33-9, and the game's over. So,
I feel like there was a bit of a theme of this too in Patriots Super Bowl runs, where their best game of the season was one of these playoff games.
Yeah.
Like your conference championship, where it was just, it was a 1A and 1B in the AFC. That was the perception going into the game, and you dominate them. And it happens in 0-3 against the Colts. It happens in 0-4 in Pittsburgh. It happens in 2014 against the Colts. It happens 2016 against Pittsburgh, where, the thought was that these teams are relatively close. And the Patriots are only favored by 5.5 in this AFC Championship in 2016, which is a decently big margin for a conference championship. But still, that should be a competitive ball game. And you end up winning by 19 points, and that's because the other team gets a garbage time touchdown. And this is really a 36-9 game. Like you're really winning this by 27 in terms of points that matter.
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah,
that's all I got.
All right, I think that's it. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. We are going to be talking about the Super Bowl, I think, at the end of this week. We'll see. We got some guests that we're trying to figure out, so we'll see what happens. But I think we'll be doing that this week. So, but anyways, that's what we got for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. We're almost done with this 2016 rewatch, and man, it's good times. It's good times. And
we're next up, and this is maybe the most iconic Patriots game in history.
This might be the most iconic NFL game ever. Just because of what they did. You say 28-3. I mean, not many games are defined by a score, right? Like, you can't tell me. You think about other games, like, you don't know off the top of your head what the final score of most of those games were, right? Certainly, if they're not your game. The fact that people call this a 28-3 game makes it pretty iconic, So,
and if you're making a list of the top 10 most impactful NFL games of all time, I mean, the Patriots are going to be up there 3 or 4 times.
You would think, yeah.
Not all for good reasons.
No,
they're going to be up there.
So
3 or 4 times, and this is going to be in the top 3 of that.
For sure, yeah, for sure. So,
in terms of most impactful games, top 3, it's going to be what this. Super Bowl 42 and like Super Bowl 3?
Probably. Yeah. I think you got to have 3 at number 1. You have to. Just because of AFL, NFL thing. I mean, you just have to have it at number 1. If you're talking about impact on the league, Yeah. So, and then you'd probably do 42 and then probably this one.
And what's crazy is that also leaves out multiple Patriots Super Bowl games that are also incredible. I mean, 36 is call it?
Yeah.
An upset on par with 42 in terms of betting line.
Right.
38, I think, is still the most underrated Super Bowl of all time.
I agree.
And 49 is just one of the best football games of all time, period.
What's really interesting is that 49 is the best comeback in Super Bowl history.
At that point, yeah.
At that point in time, it's the best comeback in Super Bowl history. And then 2 years later, the Patriots beat that by 2.5 times. It's just like unbelievable, So it's that's the stuff where you're like, come on,
Well, I look back, that touchdown that Drake May throws to Mac Hollins in the Super Bowl against Seattle. You're down to 19-0. Now it's 19-7. I know every single Patriots fan's going, well,
you never know.
And there's an entire generation of multiple generations of football fans that will use this game as evidence to say we're not out of this yet. And we always used to say, it's funny. Well, I can save some of this for next week, but like my roommate freshman year of college, one of my good friends, was not a football fan, but wanted to become a football fan. He hadn't watched it, but he wanted to be able to, watch the game if people know what was going on. So we watched everything together that year, and I was teaching him everything. And I told him all year, you never count out Tom Brady. And then for that to be the finale.
Right.
Yeah. Proof's in the pudding.
Yes. By the way, when I said 25, we all understand that the Patriots were only down 19 in the fourth quarter. And so they almost doubled the greatest fourth quarter comeback in NFL history. But
overall comeback.
Yeah. Yes. So anyways. So that's what we got for you tonight. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week, or later on this week probably, when we discuss Super Bowl 51 SBLI, as some insurance adjusters would like you to say. But thanks for tuning in. We appreciate each other. We appreciate you. Be good to each other, and go Pats.